Well, these days she gets standing ovations for her dramatic dancing, but it wasn't always that way.
No one had heard of the Spanish flamenco when she started performing it here 60 years ago, but she persevered, impressing every audience every time. And that's why Teresa Champion's another one of the people who make San Antonio great. It's an iconic scene from the 1960 John Wayne classic, The Alamo. And her tabletop flamenco steals the show. Teresa Champion hadn't even auditioned for the movie, but when John Wayne saw her at an early rehearsal, he cast her.
"What's your name?" I said, "Teresa." Because Teresa is going to be dancing on top of the table, and I'm thinking, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. And said, "Oh, are you sure?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm sure. You're going to be in my movie."
She was only 22 then, but had already been dancing professionally for 10 years. In fact, she's the one who introduced flamenco dance to South Texas in the 1950s.
I'm the first one that bring flamenco to San Antonio and to Texas.
It's a classic 18th century Spanish dance accompanied by guitar with robust stomping and dramatic gestures similar to ancient Hindu and Jewish dances. And when Champion first heard it as a girl while she was studying in Mexico, she was instantly enchanted.
I just loved it, and I said, this is what I want to do.
Then a lifetime of performance, locally, nationally, and even overseas as an ambassador of the arts and of San Antonio. With her husband Willie Champion on guitar, they toured the world. They eventually opened a dance studio on the South Side where she's taught for decades with a larger-than-life mural of her on one outer wall. Today, she's the grand dame of San Antonio dance instructors, still teaching classes at 79, revered by fellow instructors and students.
Well, it's just an honor to be able to take classes from such an icon as Teresa Champion in San Antonio.
And the city has showered Champion with praise this year at the We Flamenco Fest and as a Distinction of the Arts honoree at the Tobin Center earlier this month.
But to see her at 80 years old, or almost 80, is such a tremendous inspiration that she still can do that. I always say she wears higher heels than I do when she's out and about. She's incredible.
And she's an incredible advocate for the arts and a living example of passionate performance approaching her 8th decade.
Nothing's changed. For me, never changed. I don't know about other persons or friends or whatever, but I don't change. I've been Teresa forever.
And you always will be.
I always will be.
And she'll always be one of the people who make San Antonio great.